everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. I am here with another one of my top 10 videos of the year. This is going to be my next series of videos is all top 10s for specific genres. So obviously you can see from the thumbnail, today I'm going to be diving into my top 10 dark romances from 2025. Okay guys, so again, I keep apologizing, maybe I should stop apologizing that these are getting up late because, you know, life happens and I've been really delayed, but I wanted to get you guys my top 10 books based off of specific genres. I did just do my top 10 of the year. These are my 6-star reads. They were the top 10 books of the year of 2025. I'll put that up here if you want to check that out. But because I have so many 5 stars, I only highlighted my 6-star reads. And so I really wanted to be able to do some more videos that are highlighting some of those other amazing top 5-star reads. So that's kind of why I wanted to dive into these extra videos too with you. Now, I primarily read a lot of dark romance, a lot of taboo, a lot of mafia. So I will be having a separate mafia one that's going to come up. I plan on doing a historical one. I might do a fantasy one. I don't know if it'll be a top 10 because I don't read a ton of fantasy, but that's where I'm at right now. So, but this one, we are going to talk about my favorite dark romances of the year. So I was kind of bummed with myself. I wish I would have read more dark romance. So if you have any really good dark romance recommendations, make sure you give them to me. I do have a recommendation form down below. Give me all your recs. If you ever have any type of recommendation, make sure you click that link down below and I'll add it to my list because I want to start picking some of your guys' reads. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started with my favorite dark romance. So these are I actually organized this one, my top 10 of the year completely. I didn't really organize by number, like rank them, but I did for this one. So I'm going to start from 10 and go to my favorite one of the year. So number 10, I have Ruined Vows by Stasia Black. This is the first book that I read by this author, and this is the second book in the Carnal Games series, and I really had a good time with this one. It is very spicy. It's kind of set around a BDSM type of club, but in this we have Isaac and Kira comes from a really rich and controlling family. She basically hires Isaac as her new bodyguard because her previous one would basically report everything she did to her parents, and so she was just very stifled and did not appreciate that. So Isaac is actually ex-military. He had a pretty rough upbringing in foster care. So these two are really they're really I keep saying definitely and basically a lot. These two are opposites attract, definitely come from different backgrounds for sure. But it doesn't take that long for their attraction to hit for each other. So Kira is also being forced into a marriage by her family in order for her to get her inheritance. So they are kind of like in an open relationship. So it wasn't really cheating because she is set to marry this guy. They kind of like hook up with other people or whatever. So it's not completely like a committed relationship. So I didn't really consider it trading. I don't think it'll bother you that much if that's one of your like things that you can't handle. But yeah. So then there's a stalker situation, and the more dangerous the stalker situation becomes, the closer Kira and Isaac become. So there was a lot of spice in this book, but I think that Stasia did a really amazing job like establishing the emotional connection between the characters. At first, I really didn't like how fast they get involved sexually, but their relationship really grows through that. So I feel like this is more of an erotic romance, and I feel like their relationship really built through that situation. It's not super dark, but it has the dark vibes with like the BDSM and like kind of stalker situation. But their relationship together is pretty great. So I thought they both really helped each other because they both had trauma that they had experienced. And Kira really worked with Isaac with his PTSD. And there was a really emotional, like, moving scene that really got me in it too. So I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was such a great read, and especially for my first one from this author. So it's not too dark though. So, but I still wanted to add it to a list because I really did enjoy it. Okay, so number 9 was Beautiful Fiend by Lola King. I read one of her books last year, and it was like one of my favorite dark romances last year. And so I wanted to try and read some more of her backlist. So this is the first book in a North Shore series. This is kind of mafia, but it's kind of like street gang, like weird kind of like situation. But this is Caden, King, and Billy. And Caden and Billy come from 2 different gangs that are kind of at war in the North Shore. And this was kind of like so the other series that I read was Loving the Liar. I loved that book. And they're more of the rich elite kind of this area. Now this is more kind of like the rundown poor area of Silver Falls. Caden is from the King's gang, and they win like this kind of battle thing that happened. I can't remember if it was a race or if it was like a fight. I think it might have been a fight. And so they win like the territory of the North Shore. And so him and his friends come across Billy, and they kind of attack her. So this starts out like kind of like a bully, rival situation. And, Caden kind of forces himself sexually onto her and has them film it. And he kind of uses that to blackmail her. And yeah, so it is dark, you guys. It is dark. So then it's 2 years later, and she happens to get his attention again, and he ends up blackmailing her with that info to do a job for him, because it's kind of a risky job that could put them at risk. So they figure they could kind of have her do some of the stuff, and it wouldn't be as bad for them. So he's kind of blackmailing her to do these jobs for him. And Billy has actually been training to be an MMA fighter, and she's trying to get out of the North Shore. So she doesn't want anything to do with this. But she's sucked back into a lot of this crime stuff and has to get involved with him in that. And they just have like this crazy connection and start to really fall for each other. And, Caden King is pretty he's pretty morally gray, but I really liked him. Like, I really liked his character. And I really liked Billy because she was a really strong, badass heroine, but she also had a lot of vulnerable moments that, like, make her more, like, they're more layered to her. She's not just the badass chick to be badass, which I hate in dark romance when they write chicks like that. It really bugs me. So I really liked this. It was dark. It was a good setup to that series, which I still haven't continued, which is so like me. But I had a really good time with that. If you haven't read Lola King before, she does some really good, like, bully dark romance. Okay, so number 8 and number 7 are actually both from J.L. Beck, and they're from the same series. So I really love this series. So number 8, I did The Misfit, and this is the 5th book in the Oakmount Elite series. This is kind of set in college. It's got kind of secret society feeling to it, dark romance, stuff like that. In this, we have Lee and Salem, and Lee has been living behind like this pretty boy, life of the party type of mask. He really puts on this act, but he has a lot of issues of being like the perfect son for his family. He's bisexual, and they will not accept his sexuality, and so they're like trying to force him to date a woman, and they want him to like get a girlfriend and be on the right path, whatever, in order to be part of the family and get the money, and or he'll be cut off. So he has a few months to get a girlfriend and for his sister's engagement party. And he decides that Salem would be the perfect girlfriend. Salem has suffered a pretty big loss and is trying to get back to normal life after she had a breakdown. She has very intense OCD, anxiety, germophobia, which has basically made her life really difficult. She's got like no friends anymore. She always like has to wear like gloves and stuff. She's wears these long gloves and she just really has issues. And so she's trying to get back to being normal, but it's really hard for her. So they actually have like an interaction together where they get stuck in like this pantry cabinet or whatever, where she was like hiding at a party. And he basically manipulates the situation and makes it out like where she would need his protection at the school in this type of situation. So she needs to be his like kind of fake girlfriend. And so they start a fake dating situation. So the darker elements of this story is like the family, like the, you know, and it does deal with a lot of like trauma and some mental health rep in here. But I really loved Lee. He is like this sunshine, sweet guy. And he just really falls hard for Salem and tries to help her through everything. His parents and his family is pretty dark, so that's kind of the darker romance part of it. But these are pretty light dark romance. They're kind of more like bully, manipulative, you know, Deb Con type of situations that could bring it more dark. But these are pretty light dark romance compared to like stuff that I usually read. So I really enjoyed that one. And then number 7 is actually a duet within that series. And so that is the Psychopaths and then The Reckoning. So this is a duet and it is an MF, if I'm remembering correctly, or MFM. I think it's an MFM because they're twins. Never mind. It's an MFM. Okay, sorry. So this is between Aries, Arson, and Lillian. Aries is kind of like the golden boy, the good son of the Hayes family, but he's hiding a big secret. His twin Arson was put in an institution and basically erased from the family. Nobody even knows that he had a twin. They like considered him like the bad child and kind of accused him of things and made him out to be like the evil twin. And so he's been basically institutionalized for a long time, and he escapes that institution and he decides he's going to kidnap Aries and take over his life. So he starts living as Aries. And, you know, Aries is all of a sudden cutting himself off from his friends and family. And, you know, Arson is up to no good. So he's got kind of like a revenge plan against Aries. Now, Arson was not prepared for Aries' stepsister, Lillian, though. Now, Lillian has been in love and crushing on Aries for years, and he really loves her. Like, he's in love with her, so he's really pushed himself away, stopped going to family things, is very cold with her because his father is very evil, and he doesn't want their father and mother, who are evil, fucked up characters. They are fucked up in this, just trust me. They're the dark part of this, except for the stuff that Arson does to kind of get revenge and, you know, things he does with Lillian. They're pretty dark too. So she's been in love with Aries forever. And so when he starts acting strange, she notices and she thinks something's up. And so that's not good for Arson because he's trying to do his master plan against the family, and she's going to figure him out and what's really going on. So this is kind of like this love triangle, but maybe they'll all be together in the end type of situation. And it was fantastic. Like, I really loved it. I loved Arson. I loved all the characters. It was super angsty, very spicy. Yeah, so it was so fun. I loved that. Okay, number 5. Did I have number 5? Oh, sorry, number 6 is the Scio Kings. So I'm bringing up the first book, but this is a trilogy by Webster. This is very dark. There's a lot of on-page violence, and there's assault and all that kind of stuff. So definitely check your triggers. This is a pretty crazy, mind-bending type of trilogy. In this we have Romy, and she's in college, And she's on a mission to find out what happened to like her close friend in college, because she's all of a sudden disappeared. She was going to get involved with this like crown family type of thing. And they are actually involved in kind of like brainwashing type of situation, and they help the government with this stuff where they can manipulate people's minds and brainwash them and make them into like the perfect subject or whatever. So the government actually uses them for a lot of things. And so Romy's friend like went to them, and now all of a sudden she's dropped out of school and she's like really worried about her. So she decides to go kind of investigate. And she runs into one of the brothers, one of the sons of this company, and he basically kidnaps her, drugs her, kidnaps her. And the older brother, Caius, is livid because she comes from a really rich, influential family that actually has ties to this organization. And now he's like, what do we do with her? So he basically starts to try and brainwash her, and it's not working. And he forces her into being his fake fiance, and she has to come along with him if she wants information about her friend. She needs to follow this. So it's pretty crazy. It's really hard to explain. Each book, like the books left off in cliffhangers. They were really mind fucks. Like they really mess with your mind. Romy goes through a lot, but her and Caius really have this amazing connection and really fall for each other. But it is extremely dark. His family is involved with some really shady stuff, and you don't know how involved he really is and what he's been up to. His father is pure evil. They are like sex trafficking a little, fully, and brainwashing these girls to make the perfect pliant women for these like rich billionaire types. So it is some dark stuff in this, but I really was fascinating. It was a kind of like a thriller, mind-bending type of trilogy, and I thought it was very unique from K. Webster. So I definitely want to add that to my list because it really captured me this year. Okay, now we're getting to the top 5. Number 5, I have Take by Pam Godwin. Now, I've been really bad because I was supposed to read more of Pam Godwin's backlist this last year, and I didn't read enough. I was supposed to finish the Deliver series, which this is from. This is actually the 5th book in the Deliver series, which is also deals with sex trafficking. Again, you have to read these books in order. But Take was the only one I think I read this year, or I read 2 of them, 4 and 5. But Take was just amazing because it is another example of how Pam Godwin can get you to root for the villain. So the previous book, we were introduced to Tiago, and he is really bad. He kind of like self-inflicts, like cutting himself, like hurting people. He is like, he's part of like this Kidnap Alley or torture. I can't remember what it was called, but he had kidnapped or has a woman that was in the previous book that he kind of forced to stay with him. And he had drugged her with this drug that if she ever wasn't with him, he has to give her this kind of like thing every day. She would die. So he's pretty bad. He's done some really awful things, and he was the villain in the previous book, and now this is his romance. So things end up happening in the last book that really don't work well for him, and he's pretty pissed off. So he ends up kidnapping Kate, and Kate is one of the other women that are involved with this. They were going to be sold as sex slaves, and they got out of that situation, and now they're trying to bring down sex trafficking. This group of people, they're like the freedom fighters, and she is one of this group, and she is kidnapped by Tiago, held for a month before she even sees him, and he finally sees her. He's pretty wounded and like hurt from what happened in the previous book, but he's kind of like gonna fuck with them, kidnap her because they took his girl, and he's gonna torture her and kill her. But Kate really realizes how to like get through to him and be like, you can keep me and we'll figure this out. And so she works the situation so she's able to survive. But now she's with Tiago, and their dynamic was fascinating. This is really spicy. It's dark, the shit that Tiago has had to do, but you get to learn about where he came from, what happened to him, and obviously it doesn't absolve any of the things he's done, but he is a more really understandable character. Their relationship was so fascinating, and I really believed that they were in love and like meant to be together, and it was really good. Like, I loved this one. So it was a new fave in the series. I still love Vanquish the most because that's Van, and he's my other villain that gets kind of a redemption arc in the series. Pam Godwin is always fantastic at doing that. So again, this series is very dark because it does deal with sex trafficking and stuff. So just be aware. Number 4 isn't too dark, but this series did get dark for Webster. This is the Rowdy Ones, and this is in that Wild universe. It's in that series. When we got to the second generation last year, I think I read it was the Unruly, and that we're dealing with the kids of the couple from Wild. So if you don't know anything about this is a very taboo. You can't get this on Amazon or whatever. It's, on her site that you have to get it. But I actually gotten the arc for this, and this is it was the second generation of the father-daughter that fell in love in Wild. So if you know, it's taboo. It's not for everybody. This is not going to be for everybody. But what ends up happening in the second generation series was way darker than like Wild and Free, because the kids all grow up in like in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, with their parents. They kind of have a homestead that they lived on. They're very shut off from society, all of that. And a group of people come to like stay near there that they kind of take in, and it goes really bad. Multiple get kidnapped and all of that. So it gets very dark in that. And this is kind of continuing it, because this is about Destiny and Rowdy. And Destiny had been kidnapped by that group and assaulted, and she actually was pregnant from it and lost the baby. So she's dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of anxiety and PTSD from that. And she's just not in a good place. She's actually been going blind for many years, and so now she's fully blind. And so they decide, they have friends that are from the free book that live in town. And so they decide, what's best for Destiny? Let's have her go stay with them. Because she does try to unalive herself at one point. Her depression gets so bad. And so she's going to go stay in town and try and live life there. And maybe she can get more support with, like, she ends up going to a doctor to work with like modifications and how she can live being blind. And it's really good for her. But Rowdy is her older brother, and he is very concerned about her. He's very protective over her. He's been feeling a little too protective and a little too connected to her. And he's kind of worried about that. But he went to town and lived with that family when he was younger, and it went really bad for him. He was involved with a man that basically like controlled him, got him drugged up, assaulted him while he'd be drugged up. So he has a lot of issues, and he doesn't really trust the outside world. So he goes with her. And now they are living in town. He's not happy there, but she's thriving. And so he's staying around to protect her. But the more they're like, even though she's getting involved in the outside world and there's a guy interested in her and all that kind of stuff, he's getting jealous of that. And she's more connected to Rowdy and like loves Rowdy. So this is their relationship. So again, this is not going to be for everybody, but I loved this book. I thought it was really emotional. I thought it like dealt with some darker themes and some PTSD and trauma and getting over that, and like how much they really like loved each other. It just felt real to me. Like it felt like it didn't feel bad. I know it's crazy. I know it's crazy. It's not going to be for everybody, but I loved it. And like the problem is how can they be together if they do live in town? Because she's doing good there. They can't really go back out to the middle of nowhere again, So that's kind of the trouble that we're dealing with here. But anyways, I loved it. Okay, so number 3, we're getting my top 3 dark romances, and these are where we get a little bit darker. But number 3 was Irreversible by Jennifer Hartmann and Chelley St. Clair. This is, Jennifer Hartmann, she's always fantastic. Still Beating is like one of my favorite dark romances of all time. So this one was really like an emotional, interesting, dark romance. This is between Isaac and Everly. And Everly is a model. She's kind of like a rising star. Things are just about to take her to even to like the next level in her career, but she is kidnapped and she is held captive for 2 years by a psychopath that she calls the Timekeeper. And Isaac is a grumpy ex-detective, and he has been searching for his missing sister. It's kind of derailed his career a little bit because he's too obsessed with this and trying to find out what happened to her. And so he's been looking for his missing sister, but things go sideways and he ends up getting taken by those same people. So now Everly and Isaac are both held captive. She's been there a couple years. He's kind of just arrived and they're in rooms like right next to each other, hence like that cover. And so they're able to like communicate through this wall. And they build this friendship, this relationship. They really start trusting each other, depending on each other, to emotionally get through this, horrible situation. And she's had multiple people come in that room and then they go, there's been multiple people that have died, have left. And so this is their like relationship through this wall. And then what happens when they finally get out. So this one was really beautiful. Again, I love Jennifer Hartmann's dark romances. Yeah, so I love her dark romances. I think they're emotional. I think they take you on a journey. This one sucked me in and I was so fascinated the entire time. I don't want to say too much about it because I think you should kind of go in just knowing that basics because it'll take you on a journey. And I just think it was so fantastic. So, let's see here. Okay, so now we are at number 2. And that is, of course, we have to have a Rina Kent on here, right? And that is Beautiful Venom. So Beautiful Venom is, let me see, the first book in the Vipers series. So this one was kind of more centered around a secret society. Now, I've had people ask, like, if you haven't read the Legacy of God series, could you read this? You definitely can. There are some connections, kind of, but not really, because it's somebody that's related to somebody in her other book, which was her MM, and that's more related to Legacy of Gods. But anyways, I have a vlog of this. I've vlogged every single Rina Kent book so far, except for her brand new one, which is the second book in this. I still have to read that and vlog that. I'm hoping to do that this month. But I read her backlist. So I have a whole Rina Kent playlist if you are interested. So you can definitely see my thoughts on this up here if you want to check out more. But basically, this is kind of like a secret society. We have a college, we got hockey players, and there's some dark MFers in this. So we have Kane and Dahlia. And Dahlia is on the hunt. She's looking into Kane and his fellow hockey players because they are part of this secret society. And I'm trying to remember. Oh, it's called Vencor. And her sister is in a coma. She had something really bad happen to her and she's in a coma. And it has something to do with this Vencor secret society. So Dahlia is determined to find out what happened. And she is kind of doing her own investigative work looking into these guys. Now, they're kind of dark. They're pretty shady. They come from very rich, influential families. And so she kind of looks at them and thinks that Kane is the most manageable. He's the most level-headed, but he's pretty crazy, and his family, his life, how he was raised, you can see why he is the way he is. But basically, she decides that she's going to try and get herself in his path to get into this Vencor. So he kind of like quickly realizes what she's about, but he decides to have his fun with her. And so he has her come to like this initiation. And the initiation, she's going to have to do whatever he wants. Again, he says, if you want out, you say the word and you're out of this, but you will have to leave town and you're never going to be involved in this secret society. So again, she has a choice, but she's willing to do what it takes to find out what happened to her sister. So really, she has to do whatever he wants in this test type of situation. So it gets pretty crazy. It's pretty intense with this, initiation. And now she's going to be involved in Vencor, and she's trying to find out what happened to her sister. She's getting closer to Kane. He's kind of like controlling her, getting involved in her life. And it just goes from there. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. I loved the banter. I loved the chemistry between them was amazing. I thought the whole secret society was really exciting, and I liked the introduction of his friends. So I am definitely intrigued to see where this series goes. But I really loved this. I think it was it was my, the other one that I read from her this year, I think I gave like 4.5 stars. So this one was my 5-star from Rina Kent. I really loved Dahlia's character and like everything that she goes through. I think she's really strong, and she goes toe to toe with Kane, and that says a lot. So definitely had a great time with this one. Okay, guys, we are at number 1. This was my all-time dark romance book of the year. It was my favorite. It blew me away. I couldn't stop thinking about it. It was psychologically like fucked with me, and I loved it. So I'm actually going to show off the special edition that I got from Coveted Cover, which Jess from the Bestie Book Reviews runs with her other friend. And she sent this to me because she knew how much I loved that book. And that is Take Me With You by Nina G. Jones. This book, oh my gosh, it was so dark. Like, look how gorgeous this is, by the way. So gorgeous. We got this on the back. So pretty. I love that foiling. Beautiful book. So big thank you to Jess. I actually filmed a reel and I never posted it about when I got this. So I'll need to edit that and post that up, but it's kind of late. But beautiful book. Just want to show that off. So anyways, what is this book? I'm sure you've heard about this. I always was really nervous because this is on some people's like favorite dark romances, and I had never read it. I always like waiting for it to come on KU, and it wasn't. So I just bought the book. So I have the regular version of the book, but we got to show off the beautiful one. But this is a freaking crazy book because this has a pretty psychopath guy that does some really evil shit. And we have a captor-captive situation. It's wild. So I did actually vlog this one because this was also a 12 rec from 12 Friends this year. So I'll put that up here. And you'll see me go through all the crazy feelings while I read this. It's spoiler. I say everything that happens in it. So just be prepared. So anyways, this is about Sam. And he is a messed up guy. He is messed up. He likes to stalk people, watch them in their homes, break in. After a while, he'll break in, kind of bind up the guy, take the woman, assault her, and totally mess with them psychologically, and then leave. And he's been doing this for a while, and he's pretty crazy. Like the things that he does, I was just like, wow, we're going there. It's dark. And he happens to come across Vesper, and he becomes obsessed with her. He sees her with like her, I think it's a little brother or little sister. I can't remember. But I think they had special needs, and he was really loved the way she treated her sibling, and he becomes really obsessed with her, intrigued by her. So he starts to stalk her. Now she has a boyfriend, and he's not really enjoying that. And one night that boyfriend decides to like propose to her and stuff. And he was just stalking. He wasn't really prepared to do anything that night, but he decides, that's it. I'm doing it. And so he breaks in and does his whole thing. But things go sideways, and he decides he's taking her with him. Take me with you. And she actually says that to him because he's threatening her sibling. And she's scared for her sibling's life and her boyfriend, like actual new fiance's life. And so she's like, take me with you, because she doesn't want him to kill them or hurt them. So he kidnaps her, and it's kind of on the fly. He wasn't prepared for it, but he's going to roll with it. And he keeps her captive, and he sexually tortures her, does crazy things to her, and she starts to kind of get, you know, feelings and obsessed with him in a little way. But it's just crazy because everything that happens in here is so fucking crazy. And this guy does some evil stuff, but I empathize with him. And I don't know how she did it, but she had me empathizing with Sam, and I cared about him. And his backstory was very interesting. You see why he is as messed up as he is. And I just couldn't put this down. It blew me away. There's some really dark shit that happens in here, though. So again, like with all these, check your triggers, but especially with this one, there is some really bad stuff. I go into detail on my vlog. There was even something that happened in here that is like one of my triggers that almost pushed me to be like, I don't think I can read this, but I freaking loved it. Like, I loved this book. It was such a mind F, and I actually wanted them to be together in the end, and I was rooting for Sam. So I don't know what that says about me, but this was one of the best dark romances I've ever read. It was phenomenal. So this was number one by far for the year. All right, guys, that is my top 10 dark romance from 2025. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you are not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button, comment down below, give me a like. Let me know what you thought of some of these books. Hopefully you love them, or you'll be interested in picking some of these up in the future. All right, thank you so much, and I will see you guys on the next one.